Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Kingdom. Welcome to another video. I am going to do my best to play nice today. I will not be screaming like my kids are playing Brawl Stars in the background, if you can hear them. uh, I want to talk to you today about competitive integrity, about uh, the beef that Aches had on Twitter with the Call of Duty League, the things he was calling out. Um, and I guess I have a little tiny public service announcement at the beginning, and all I want to ask is, where's the journalistic integrity? Like, I'm seeing all of these journalists, if that's what we call ourselves, commentators, analysts. I mean, you're not analyzing anything if you're just taking someone's tweets and regurgitating what they say and saying it's a problem. Like, it's like social media. Everybody's talking, but nobody's saying anything. And it kind of drives me crazy when I go to, because I watch a lot of YouTube content, and I go to where I think I'm about to find out about a topic, and someone says, Aches is right. This is a problem, but they never say why it's a problem. They're just basically saying it's a problem because Aches said it's a problem. Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem that Chicago and Faze, when you looked last week at the schedule, weren't weren't in the same group? Why is that an issue to you personally? And I guess that's my question: is where's the journalistic integrity? So I'm not just going to give you my opinion on this whole thing today in terms of like, I'm not just going to tell you that, oh, the league is amazing because they fixed what Ake said was an issue. I'm going to tell you why I think it could have been an issue or not, and my opinion. And I'll let you determine where you land, and we could talk about it in the comment section. But what I'm not going to do, and what I'm not going to do on this channel, is become a TMZ type of news outlet where I just tell you what I see. You can see it yourself, and there's plenty of people making those videos. Um, I will continue to do features on pro players and to tell you about teams and my opinion of teams and players and player mix-ups and rosters and things like that, and review events and do predictions for events. Um, yeah, I guess that's my public service announcement is, can we please have some journalistic integrity? I'm so thankful for all of the podcasts that I see, like Codtacular, like Codcast, like Hard Points, like Spitfire, that definitely have journalistic integrity and have their own opinions and are not just regurgitating what they see on Twitter so that they can get some views on YouTube. But hey, your hustle is your hustle. Um, I have a whole bunch of notes on this topic, as you can see, because I tend to ramble and rant, and maybe that's what you guys like about my videos, is that I just do one take 20 minutes of me talking about a topic, and that's it. And you guys watch a lot of them. The average view duration on my videos is very long, and I appreciate that. So I also want to say I tweeted that within the last 3.5 weeks that I've been consistently making content, whether it's, I think I've done 19 videos and 12 streams in the last 3 weeks. And in that time, I've tripled my daily YouTube views, so thank you. I have added over 250 followers on Twitch, so thank you. I have added 26 subscribers on Twitch, so thank you. Um, and I got my YouTube monetization back, which is why you saw an ad at the beginning of this video, but you're not used to seeing that on my videos. And so thank you. I just want to say thank you. I don't think my monetization should have ever been taken, but that's a fight for another day. I was very frustrated when that happened. I have 33,000 subscribers and you just take away my monetization. I had a video last year that got 119,000 views. None of those were monetized. I had to grind for the last 3 weeks to get however many watch hours so that I can get my monetization back. So thank you guys for supporting my content. All right, let's get into this topic. So basically, what happened is Aches went on Twitter and was very public about the fact that the Chicago Huntsmen and Atlanta Faze never were in the same group. Now, here's what I want to say at the outset. Well, and his number one reason for complaining was because the league talked so much about a competitive integrity, and he thought, which was true, There was not competitive integrity during his match between him and Minnesota, in Minnesota, when they basically got a map for free. I mean, and even Minnesota apologized. They were like, "That's not the way you want to win," but GG's. Like, the whole community was kind of behind Aches on that. Like for them to come out and win two maps in a row, but then lose one of those maps. Of course, they weren't going to win the rest of them. And so everybody was behind Aches on that. There wasn't competitive integrity. We didn't understand what was going on. We understood it, and so Aches in traditional Aches form and fashion went after the league, and he found a loophole. He found a scheduling mistake, which is probably what it was, a scheduling error, but people started to call it intentional. And then that's where I was talking about the journalistic integrity piece. You have people making videos telling thousands of people on YouTube that this was on purpose. And, if the league did this on purpose, then it's not competitive integrity. But what is competitive integrity? How are we defining competitive integrity? So if integrity is who you are when nobody's around, then competitive integrity is how you treat teams when nobody's looking. So basically, are you being integrous as an organization? Meaning, are you giving every single team an equal opportunity for success? And basically, what Aches was saying very publicly is that they were not giving every team an equal opportunity for competitive success. And the thing that I will not stand for, and I agree with Aches on, is there tends to be this contingency in our community, normally fans of Hex and Scump and all those guys that kind of come out and say, "Oh, stop being a whiner, Aches. You're always whining. If you want, you should just win more and beat more teams." And this is the same people that get frustrated when a player doesn't perform well, and they're upset that people are calling them different names for not performing well, and they say, "Well, you should play better." And these are very, I don't want to talk about viewers, but I'm just saying, I don't agree with going after Aches in that way where it's like you just need to win more. I mean, actually look at the league fixed it. So that means they saw an issue. If the league made a change to their schedule that was already made before Minnesota, then that means they saw what Aches called out as an issue. And Puckett thanked Aches publicly on Twitter, for saying something. I do think that we need a players association so that things like this don't go public because of these TMZ clickbaity style journalists that are going to just throw it out there like, "Oh, the league is horrible," and give a bad impression of the league in general. And the Players Association can be there for when the league actually doesn't listen after they complain. Then they decide, "Hey, we're all going to take to Twitter and we're going to complain about this." However, there isn't a Players Association. Aches is Aches. He said what he needed to say, and obviously it was something that needed to be fixed. And I agree. I actually like that they made that change. Now, there's some facts that I don't think anybody's looking at. The fact of the matter is that the Chicago Huntsmen and the Atlanta Faze only are at 5 events together. And so now in Chicago, which is going to be crazy, but in Chicago, they're now in the same group. They made a change so that in Chicago, they're going to be in the same group with each other. Here's what's unfortunate. And there's some things that in my opinion, we have to be careful about as fans when we're complaining about these things. Um, and the pro players that were kind of speaking out about this and saying, "Well, is the reason they did this because they want the biggest teams with the biggest brands in COD esports to go the farthest in the bracket?" My first question is, who doesn't want that? How is that not good for all of us? I remember when Nade Shot was blowing up back in the day, and people used to complain about Nade Shot. You know what I did? I made Call of Duty esports videos. I made a lot of them. And my biggest videos were always about Optic, and people called me an Optic fanboy. But if you look at my top videos, which is very interesting, There's a lot of them about Parasite, which is very like I don't know if people just like learning about Parasite on YouTube, but the reality is Optic had the biggest fan base. So of course all of my Optic videos are going to be my best videos. But I did reports on every team, every player, every roster change, whatever it was that happened. But yes, my biggest videos and the most noticed ones were the ones that were getting seen by hundreds of thousands of people because they were about a team that was supported by hundreds of thousands of people. But I've interviewed Aches. I've done a video where I personally said a letter to Patrick Price that was at Aches. I've done a video where MLG versus Aches. I've done videos on Faze. I've done videos on every team. Envy doesn't matter. I've done COD profiles on players from all the teams. But of course, the Optic ones are the ones that get the most views. That is the nature of what we're doing. We are entertaining. It's the same reason that before the season even starts, the NBA already determines the Christmas games, and the highlighted Christmas games are going to involve LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and whoever else has the biggest following because they want people on Christmas Day when they're with their families to be like, well, I want to watch LeBron. Well, I want to watch KD. Competitive integrity is not, well, let's put the Steph Curry and Klay Thompson list Warriors and the who else? Maybe uh, the Denver Nuggets, who are not a bad team, but people don't really know a lot of their players. Let's put them as the marquee Christmas game. Why would you do that? Ratings matter for all of us. And this is one of the points I want to make. Views and more views are good for all of us. If the league did consider views in the determination of how they seeded everything, which I don't think they did. I've been in DMs a lot with some of the casters and commentators and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like what I was told is that they actually were trying to match some of the matchups they already had before they switched to tournament style. And if you've seen anything from this league, would you consider that the people at the top that are determining who plays when, that they're really going, let's make sure FaZe and Chicago, because at the beginning of the season, Dallas was the number one team. And Envy, if you're calling these the biggest two, Envy's right behind them. Like Dallas is right there underneath them as the third biggest brand. If you're looking at FaZe and Chicago as having the biggest followings, biggest brands, and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I'm pretty sure after Chicago, Dallas has the most followers as a team on Twitter. If you don't count Optic Gaming, which everybody's doing, nobody's counting Optic. They have 3 point something million followers, but everybody's like, well, they're a shell of an organization, whatever. Um, so that's kind of one of the first points I want to make is that I don't think it's against competitive integrity, giving everybody an equal chance, because you know what? And let me say this for what it's worth. If I'm the New York Subliners and if I'm the Royal Ravens, and now these two teams that are on the screen are in my group, I'm screwed. The same reason that we said, see, what nobody really said is everybody said, well, they're the biggest organizations. What nobody really was admitting is they're the best. Because even if they were the biggest, there were times when Optic was the biggest organization, but we wouldn't complain about them being in different brackets because their team would probably maybe not make it out of groups, or they'd get beat by another team and you wouldn't worry about it. The reality is putting them in different groups doesn't just help because they're the biggest, but also because they're the best. And right now, they're the best. And those two best organizations, yes, they're going to probably, if they're in different groups and don't have to face off against each other. But the reality is, even if they face each other, the Royal Ravens in New York now are facing the two best teams in the game. Not just the two biggest teams in the game, the two best teams in the game. Here's another thing. Why was the Seattle Surge versus Florida and the Seattle Surge versus Toronto the number 4 and number 5 most watched matches last weekend? Maybe because the time schedule was off and they were playing when people were tuning in to see FaZe or Chicago. Maybe the Seattle brand and the Florida brand and the Ultra brand got more viewership, more followers on Twitter, and were exposed more because people were tuning in to watch these teams. Maybe if we put these two teams in different groups and they play other teams, maybe those other teams are going to get more exposure. Hmm. Some of you right now are, he's a Chicago fanboy. This is not fanboying. This is being a Call of Duty fan. This is being someone who is excited when more people are watching. And if and we know the difference. And you guys can look, we can complain. I don't know why we still complain about this. We've been complaining about this for 7 years. Why are we still complaining that when the Huntsmen stop when Scump stops playing, less people watch? Why do we still complain? It is a fact. It is a statistical fact. And that is the way it is. But what this league has created is an opportunity for the home team to be the home team. GodRx, I believe, right after the event, tweeted that he had more followers and that he hit a milestone in follows because he was that home team, and all the Minnesotans, or however you want to say it, I don't know how they're called, gave him some follows, and more people saw him on screen, and it was more hype and more excited. And when he got introduced, he felt better. Like they've made it so that when you're these other teams, you're actually going to feel like you're the Huntsman. When you're at home, when you're at your homestead, you're going to feel like you're Scump. You're going to feel like that old school Optic team when they used to get introduced. You're going to be cheered on like you were Optic. I think this is great for everyone. Now, I am happy that they made a change, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have. I am very happy because I think Aches had every right to ask the question that he asked. I do wish it would have been private, not public, but whatever. And the only reason I wish it would have been private is because there are people in our community that take something like that and run with it and just throw it out there like, oh, the league is bad if they've done this and this is not competitive integrity. And in some ways, isn't the league actually giving teams a better shot at making it farther as well by not putting Chicago and Faze in the same group? Haven't we seen in the past that when you put two dominant teams in the same group, you're basically crossing out the two bottom teams in that group? Like you're just basically saying, well, you're not going to make it because there's a losers bracket in the group. Like these groups are different. They're not just like, well, it's you play. We would almost look at groups like at champs and stuff and be like, okay, well, these two teams are for sure making it out. They're not going to lose to these three teams. Which one of those teams is going to make it? So when you put four teams in there and you're looking at Chicago and FaZe as the other two teams, you're immediate. Who in their right mind is going to say, and based on what we saw this weekend, let's just base it off what we saw this weekend. If right now, Chicago's event was right now, and Chicago and FaZe were in the same group, who would make it out of the group? Between Chicago, FaZe, New York, and the Ravens, who is the group that's going to be together in Chicago? The Ravens and New York would probably, I mean, I would predict them to not make it. And what that means is they're going to play two, maybe three games, because one of them is going to get to the losers finals, and they're going to be eliminated. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. And even if FaZe and Chicago play each other in the first round and one of them gets knocked down, I would almost guarantee that whatever team that is, they're going to make it through that losers bracket. So that means, I'm sorry, London. I'm sorry, New York. How is that a benefit to those two teams? How is that a benefit to those two organizations? That's my question. Like, when we're talking about competitive integrity, it's giving each team an equal opportunity. If I'm an owner, I would beg the league to put Chicago and FaZe in different brackets because more people watching COD is more people watching me as well. The more fans we have, the more fans we have. The more views we get, the more views we get. It is a automatic result. Look, my videos right now barely getting 1,000 views a video. You know why I'm not concerned? Because I can look at other people that are making similar content that are getting 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 views a video. And I know that if I keep grinding and people recognize that I'm back, that I'm around again, my numbers will come back and they'll go higher because I believe in my content. I think that I'm a good commentator and analyst for Call of Duty esports. And so I'm not worried about it. I tripled my YouTube views. Tripled my YouTube views doesn't mean now I'm getting 20,000. Tripled my YouTube views means tripled my daily YouTube views because I'm making daily content. And when you make daily content, you also are not going to get as many views on each video. So I don't, I hope I'm clear on the fact that I agree with Ake saying something. I agree with the league making a change. But I think we missed out on some facts that are helpful, like the fact that they're only together 5 times. And in those 5 times, if I'm the other two teams in their group, I don't want them together. Period. Ask Aches, or not Aches, ask Attach and Zuma. Ask Wuskins and Scraps if these are the other two teams they want in their groups. Ask them. And you know what? If I'm Chicago, I don't want them in my group because that's my homestead. I'd rather play them in the finals or the grand finals rather than play them in group play. It just means it'll probably be now a more exciting event because Chicago and FaZe might play each other twice. That's great. Marquee matchup. And when it comes to this past weekend, people also are mentioning, like, the way they orchestrated this weekend. Yeah, they orchestrated it. Duh. They wanted it to be a good launch. That's why each of the days on YouTube, the full VOD almost has 1 million views, and specific matches have hundreds of thousands. I think Dallas versus Chicago has like 350,000. Chicago versus Optic has like 400,000, 500,000. Like, those views matter. Every view matters. Hashtag. Let me look at my notes here and make sure I didn't leave anything out. I'm sure you guys got a lot to say um, in these comments about what I said. Um, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Um, the same thing I used to say about Optic. I used to say that that competitive Call of Duty ran on green batteries, and that as Optic grew, it was good for all of us. And I know as pro players, they probably didn't agree with that because they're like, well, no, the rest of us don't get a chance to get exposed, and you do if you play Optic. I mean, you do. More people get to know who you are. More people know who Zuma is that didn't know him because they took a map off Faze. People that didn't know Zuma, they know his name now. They're like, oh, dude, they took a map off Faze. Faze only lost one map. That one dom. Them New York subliners got attention in that. Yeah, they got annihilated in the search and destroy. But then they came back and won that domination. And for a second, for a brief second, we sat back like, okay, maybe they can win this hard point. Like, you just kind of, you thought it was possible. And that got them some attention. And so, you know, I mean, getting smacked around by these teams it doesn't impress anybody or anything like that. But them not being in the same group can have a positive impact on our esport if they continue and they do play longer and they play more matches, um, and it builds to the tournament finale where they play each other. That's just, I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? Like, you're telling me that if they were in separate groups and they won their groups and they went into the lower bracket and then they beat the two teams they played and then they played in the grand finals, like, woo, buddy. Look, I'd watch that whole event, all of it. I mean, I watched the full event anyway. I watched every match that I could. The only match that I stopped watching was when I heard Kobe Bryant pass and I stopped watching Paris and London. But that was a hot 3-0 anyway. But um, I really hope I'm making sense here, guys. Um, why do we? I know that I can. Yep, I said that. I'm glad that Ake said something. Um, but it is way beyond the time when a players' association is needed. Thriving off drama as an esport is not sustainable. When there is no drama, views plummet. If that's the only news that we do, there are plenty of news outlets and plenty of little drama alerts that what are you gonna do when there's no drama? Like, what do you do in the off season? You know what I'm saying? Like, um, that's why I've always continued to make content like COD profiles and things like that, and those are coming back. That's why I do best competitive vids. That's why I talk about myself and tell my story. Like, that's why I've done all those things because I don't want to live on the drama. I created the term roster mania. Created it. Like, it came from my channel. And then MLG kind of took it and ran with it, and I applaud them for it. I love it. To for the rest of my life, no one will probably ever believe that I did, but my followers do. My subscribers know. They heard it here first. I went on esports news. I was being interviewed by Benson and Puckett, and I had said the word, and then they had a show called Roster Mania, and then that was it. The rest is history. Now every esport uses the term Roster Mania. I think major sports now use the term roster. What if I really was the one? Wouldn't that be crazy if I was really the person? And of course, there's no original ideas, so there's nothing new under the sun. So I'm not like I need credit for this term. I'm gonna copyright it. um, but Rostermania was never supposed to be about the drama of it. It was about the excitement of a roster change, the excitement of Scump leaving Optic, the excitement of Optic dropping JCap, the excitement of Optic picking up Crim and Formal. It was about the excitement. And that's what I love about our esport. I love the excitement. And sometimes some drama is necessary to get attention. And that's where Ace specializes in. And I actually like that. But if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to come with a little more information than here's what Ake said, and if the league doesn't respond, this is a problem. That's just not who I am. And so um, I want to make sure that I maintain journalistic integrity on this topic, and that's why I waited to talk about it. I tweeted that I was going to reserve judgment until I saw what happened. The league responded, and now I can talk about it because the league has made a response. I felt like I would just be feeding into the media circus around this topic. Um, and Aches was right. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form calling Aches out. Um, the last thing I wrote in my notes, it says hate on success, and you know the rest. Um, this league, I want it badly to succeed. I want the Call of Duty League to be successful deeply. In my heart, I want it to succeed. I want the players to succeed. I don't want competitive integrity to be questioned. Um, I don't want it to be questioned publicly at all. Um, I've been screaming for a players' association for probably since COD Ghost. Um, and Aches has to be that guy all the time, and he's been suspended for it and all that kind of stuff, and not able to play in a match. But I applaud him for being vocal. I'm thankful for people like Maven, who, until they tell him to be quiet, is going to continue to respond to us and to respond and respond and respond and be honest. And what I love about Maven is he says, well, it's got to be an oversight. It has to be an oversight. Like at this point, like this can't be something they planned. Like it would just not be smart to plan that. Um, But at the same time, there's no way I'm putting them in the same group 5 times. I wouldn't even put them in the same group 3 times. If it was, let me tell you guys, if it was my decision to randomize the groups or whatever, and I randomized them, and then all 5 times that FaZe and Chicago were at the same event, they were in the same group, I'd unrandomize. And that's just, you can call that non-competitive integrity if you want, but there is a part of all this where it's a $300 million league and people put in millions of dollars. And like Maven said on Spitfire, there are some organizations that are going to play twice at these events and not get to play anymore. And can you imagine? Can you imagine? Let me kind of close with this. Can you imagine that you're London and you fly to Chicago? You get your visas and all that, and you fly early so you can get over the jet lag, and you play Chicago in the first, and you drop down to the losers bracket. And let's say you play New York. Let's say New York beats FaZe, and then you play FaZe and you lose. And you've now played 2 matches and you're done. And you flew across the world for that? To me, that's not an equal opportunity. Because the other teams in the other group, they're like, ha, sorry, bro. Good luck. Good luck making it out of your group, homie. Or let's say you play New York and you beat them, and then you play your third game against FaZe and you're done. Like it's It's mind-boggling to say the least how quickly we are to jump to certain conclusions without garnering all of the information, without doing some research for ourselves. And that's, I guess at the same time, I want to encourage you guys, like, don't just take everything you read at face value. What Aches exposed was absolutely accurate. But what Aches did is he said, if I just want this league to be competitively integrous, he didn't just go and flame the league. And I want to encourage my subscribers and my viewers not to do that. And if you ever want an opinion on something that you don't understand, you see a pro player saying something, you see something else on another YouTube channel, um, and you're like, I just, Kingdom, can you explain this? I'll put it in a video. Nevertheless, this is your boy Kingdom. I'll see you guys next time.